So welcome to what might as well be called yearly Megatron. So last year I took a look at Armada Megatron's Legacy reimagining, and now we have both Energon Megatron's Legacy reimagining and his recolored Galvatrons. Now, these figures are still larger, despite being how small they are, than Megatron's humility. And smaller than his ego. Mind you, his ego is bigger than him. Okay, so these tiny little Megatron and Galvatron figures each set me back $18. And they're small. So if I bring it up against the last video's subject, we have the conversion built sister, and we have the demon. Now sure, I'm looking down on them, so they're not the most accurate scale. Now if we use an energon figure that cost $3 less back in the day, the alt mode is taller. But just barely. The alt mode is... Nah, he's taller, but just barely. So, where Armada Megatron was very much a kind of noble but less morally driven leader than Optimus, Energon Megatron does away with a lot of that. Now, some of that no doubt comes from the fact he was resurrected by Unicron. And coming back from the dead tends to do something to you in fiction. Tends to mess with your mental state a bit. So yeah, Megatron ended up being a massive twat. But the figures of him, they're neat. So we've got his little tank sword that he gets later on, after getting rather annoyed at the fact that the Autobots were using something that I've got him transformed wrong. After getting annoyed at that the Autobots were using the same sword as him, he's like, I need a better kind of sword. I need a better sword than the kind my enemy use. And later in the series, I'll talk about him in a moment actually, because they're the same figure but different colours and slightly different points in time in the story. So yeah, we've got the tank sword that doubles as a cannon. The original figure, the sword blade, was a separate piece and a separate colour. I had the choice to make these a separate piece useful, because the original toy they would fold. Whereas now if you want them to be facing forward, you plug them like that. But you can also just have him dual wield them, in theory, if you can get him to hold the things. So yes, dual wield Megatron. Yes, of course I'd make a few Thew's Transformer Reviews jokes. I respect Thew, he's awesome. His collection is insane. Yes, we have the guns down and the sword up. And now it's 3 guns facing someone. So Legacy has been an interesting run. We've ended up with some real banger figures like Armada like a Legacy version of Armada Optimus, or the Aqua's Kingdom, or Tidal Wave, which I don't have because it's like it's over $300 when it was on pre-order, and I think they all sold out by now. So I am going to transform them both in a moment. But yeah, let's talk about the colours on these. This one kind of has, I think, reminiscent of G1 Megatron colours. But G1 Megatron was probably a better leader. Yeah, I've kind of run out of things to say. Like, we've got ball joints. The wings foul a lot of movement. So too do the pins under the arms for the transformation, to lock the transformation in. We have bending capacity because of how it transforms. Swivel. Ball joint and round bit means swivel. Works, and yeah. Late into energon, after Optimus has pummeled Unicron in a giant battle royale almost, well, giant cage match, I'd say, was probably another way of describing it. Megatron ends up, after getting onto a relatively unguarded Cybertron, ends up finding his way through to Super Energon and takes a swim. And we end up getting slight G1 callback and him going gold, and then he becomes purple. And we end up with Galvatron as he chooses to rename himself. Megatron taking on the name of Galvatron is a classic thing within Transformers, I believe. So this era of Megatron changes his colours around, and we end up, instead of green, we end up with gold on the, we end up with a golden yellow, which looks more yellow on this. I quite like the combo of purple and gold, and purple and golden yellow. In 40k, if they weren't traitors, I'd probably play Emperor's Children if they were a loyalist chapter. Or a loyalist legion. Now I know that Hawk Lords, I think it is, the loyalist ones. So yes, we've got Galvatron with his 2 pistols / shoulder weapons. His sword's just a darker version of the tank sword from before. And it just pegs onto his arm. Apparently takes some of my nail with it. So, it's time to transform them. Okay, so in terms of vehicle mode, here's how he compares with Skyblast from earlier. So we've got the 2 of them there. Skyblast is bigger, but then figures from back that era kind of were. It's also wider. And next we have a deluxe class Swindle from the Combiner Wars era. That improves it. That improves the light. Okay. We have a Bone Crusher from Energon. I might as well bring the Energon toys in. We have a Terracon Dive Bomb. And we have a Minicon, which is a Universe repaint, I believe. Or it's a Cybertron repaint, given the Decepticon symbol on it. So I'm going to transform them back into robot mode, and we'll actually do some size comparisons. But before I do that, let's look at them on the turntable. So for something so small, it is well detailed, even if half the robot mode is just kind of obvious. But it's still a neat design. It's a wacky design. Energon did some really funky things. And some of them didn't succeed, some of them did. What I reckon we're going to see in future is this figure slightly probably not really retooled, but repainted for shattered glass. I reckon we're going to see a shattered glass color scheme of this figure at some point in the future, much like how I called it when I said that that shattered glass, I think it's sideswipe figure, is going to be brought back as a armada wheeljack, and lo and behold, that figure was announced. So yeah, kind of obvious retools and easy not even retools, obvious recolors for Hasbro. Okay, so they're in robot mode. So they're back in robot mode, and here's where the shrinkflation, where what feels like shrinkflation. I mean, I paid $18 for these, and for each of these, and the figures I used to get cost $15 normally, sometimes $20 though, so maybe it isn't quite shrinkflation, but like these came in a 3-pack, and look at how big they are compared to how big a minigod is compared to it. He's dwarfed by an Omnicon. It's like he's dwarfed by Skyblast, dwarfed by a Terracon, who does not want to stay up. We've got Bone Crusher, and if we want to go for an even bigger one, we've got Swindle. Now, I don't have an Optimus that's in scale with these. I didn't get any of the Legacy tiny Optimuses. I do have a different Optimus, will be in a future video. But I also don't have the old Macca's Energon Optimus, which would be great as a scale comparison. I do have Energon Omega Supreme, but I bring him in and it's just comical. He's comically bigger than these. But yeah, $15 in 2005, $18 in 2024. Well, 2023 and 2024. I'm on Hasbro. Make things slightly bigger, although at the same time I get that plastics are getting more expensive, which is why things are getting smaller. And I mean, getting oil to America or China from the oil fields in I believe Saudi Arabia and Iraq, that's going to be expensive, given things now have to take the long way, or potentially still have to take the long way because of a certain group. Anyway, there are a whole lot of geopolitical stuff, and you're not here for that video. So for those that are here for who watch my channel for 40k stuff, don't worry, 40k stuff is coming tomorrow. Hide your witches, for they will be being hunted.